Hello again, everyone. I'm Genevieve Wisdom. I'm your host of Walk with Wisdom, a lifestyle show on youthful aging. Today, we have two incredible men join us again because this part of the youthful aging walk is about men over 40 primarily. However, men younger can take this information and run with it so that they can be prepared for what's coming. I have Andrew here who is in top with me. Hi, Andrew.
I'm representing the men under 40.
Andrew has picked a group, folks, and I have Bruce here. Bruce, which group are you?
I'm doing the over 40 today.
Well, everyone, it's going to be an exciting show. This is a continuation of last week's show. Please go back and watch it. Remember, we are live on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. Please share the link, give us a thumbs up, like our show across the board, because this way we can bring you more of this incredible information from learned minds that really helps my wisdom shine through. And just a reminder, everyone, that this is a knowledge-based show, so we're sharing knowledge. We get to laugh through whatever journeys we go through on this show. Please contact your primary care practitioner before you start anything that's out of the norm for you, and of course, listen to what they tell you. With that said, don't forget we're also on all the audio platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. And we're going to jump right in. Gentlemen, we had so much feedback last week when Andrew was here, delineated his wisdom. Bruce had his wisdom and knowledge. And together, everyone was saying, wow, we didn't know that. And you know, Andrew, Bruce knows this because Bruce has been with me now for several shows, and people love Bruce with me, Andrew, because we take the complicated and we make it simple, not unlike what you do. So thank you again for coming back and being my guest. And of course, everyone, go back. You can hear Andrew's bio. It's a tiny bit of what this incredible man does. Now, let's jump right in. So I want to do a recap on understanding andropause, or how I like to call it, menopause, because you know there's menopause for women, menopause for men. Andrew, you did one of the greatest 5-second elevator pitch explanation on that when you said andropause doesn't have that specific time like with women. It's a slow decline. Can you just do a quick recap on that for everyone who wasn't here last week? And Bruce, maybe you can join in after Andrew reintroduces that.
Yeah, so we all know that menopause is a very well-recognized transition in female life. Andropause isn't recognized as such. Andropause, from my understanding, is more of a recognition of the gradual decline in functionality and feeling over a course of many years, and usually it starts over many decades prior to realizing that you might not have the energy that you did, or the strength, or the stamina, and you may not be able. You may not have the personality even gets affected over time. So this is all linked to lower testosterone levels over time, coupled with probably one of the biggest risk factors for going into what you feel is andropause is being sedentary. So that's the good news, is for men, it's a much easier correction than for women, because a lot of times getting back into activity will help improve things. However, there comes a certain age when you will have to look at probably augmenting the hormone cascade with natural products and or exogenous testosterone. So that's a little bit longer than 5 seconds.
No, that was excellent. Bruce, do you have anything that you'd like to add about that andropause? That's not really a stage, but a stage with you men nonetheless.
Well, I know traditionally as men get older, they tend to have less energy, so they're less vibrant, they move less. And that increases the speed of andropause, because the idea to have it not affect you deeply is to be in movement, get some exercise, eat well, sleep well, and do all those things right. And this is what most of us do less as we get older. I mean, think about retirement. Most people hit the rocking chair and golf twice a week. That's not movement. So we kind of build it into ourselves as we get older. It's not just, it's, yeah, we kind of just do it to ourselves.
Absolutely. No, thank you for that. Okay, I'm going to throw a little wrench into the questioning here. Do you remember last week, Andrew, when you talked about the big P, the little p? I thought of another P. And we can't just ignore the elephant in the room, for lack of a better terminology. And
Yeah.
the stage of andropause, doesn't that affect libido and erectile dysfunction? Could you just do an intro to that? Because everyone, time flies so fast because these men are so
Mhm.
brilliant. So it's really just going to be an introduction. But I thought of another way you could talk about that andropause stage for men because it's a real thing.
Yeah, I think, not making it extremely complicated, but you can look at all of the dysfunction and incorrect physiology. And I use the word incorrect as in because men, we tend to judge ourselves based on what we were able to do 30 years ago. Bruce, I don't know whether that you relate to that, but every time I go in the gym, my coach has to go, well, you were that way, but you're not that way now. And I think that when the body doesn't work as you remember it or as you want it to, one of the biggest factors to look at is how am I taking care of myself now? Because the choices that you make over a period of time determine where your physiology ends up. And so erectile dysfunction has a lot to do with metabolic health. And, we're not going to go into it in a deep way, but having a naturopathic physician or a health coach work with you to figure out, okay, well, what are the things that we need to look at that are metabolic markers that might be off? So, for example, high cholesterol. Your blood, when there's too much cholesterol in your blood, circulation isn't good. If you don't exercise, you're not going to build the vascular structures to get blood to where it needs to go. And, erectile dysfunction is like not having good circulation in your baby toe or your big toe, right? It's an extremity of the body. The other thing is nitric oxide production. That's not going to be healthy if you are not exercising, you don't have a good diet full of fruits and vegetables. There are many other factors, but one of the biggest ones is mitochondrial health. You need really good mitochondria to have energy and to have all these biological functions happen. And what builds a larger amount of mitochondria in your body is having muscle, because muscle is very mitochondrially dense. And that causes a whole host of other, you see a theme with me, right? And then there are compounds that are natural that you can take that increase circulation and cause a vasodilation effect. One of them is saffron, one of my favorite.
And we're going to go deeper into these later on. Thank you, Andrew. Was there anything else you needed to say about that, or can I have Bruce give us
Yeah,
his
go ahead.
expertise in this area? Good. Bruce?
Actually, I think Andrew summed it up very well. I'm not going to add anything to that. That was well done.
Oh,
Excellent.
thank you.
Excellent. Well, yes. And of course, Andrew, I really, as the show goes on and we can go down all these different areas, we're just giving an introduction. By the way,
Mm-hmm.
everyone, Bruce and I have been in private practice. We've also been in an integrative consulting capacity for decades. You can get a hold of us at wisdom@walkwithwisdom.ca. That's the best way to get a hold of us, is to email us wisdom@walkwithwisdom.ca. That way we can also talk to you about your specific needs as well. Thank you, gentlemen, for handling that so eloquently when I threw that in, but it is a real thing. And by the way, I see younger men coming
Mm-hmm.
in asking about things because they're having things like erectile dysfunction. It's a whole deep topic. We may have to have you back on that one, Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go to the yes, perfect, perfect. So next thing I wanted to talk about, and maybe Bruce, I'll get you to lead on this one because we hear so many names about hormones out there, and I just wanted us to really figure out what hormones are at play? Is it just testosterone, or is it there anything else? Bruce, can you lead Andrew with that, please?
Sure. We like to, us men, we like to deny that we don't have estrogen in us, but I believe there's a balance between estrogen and testosterone in us, just like there is in women. But that's a starting factor. But then we get the quote unquote the xenoestrogens, the estrogens from outside of our bodies coming into our bodies, and that throws us off balance. Do you want to go into a little more detail about that with us?
Yeah. Am I on the spot now?
You are on the spot.
And you can handle it.
Yeah. Xeno meaning outside the body. So these are compounds that come in through mostly the water and the food we eat. So for example, microwaving in plastic containers, or having the saran wrap on your food and then microwaving in that, it puts a lot of microplastics and chemicals. And then in the water, we can get estrogen-like compounds, which the body doesn't recognize as natural, but which have a magnitude of order many times more powerful effect on our receptors than on normal recognizable estrogen. So these all cause issues, and they're interlinked with poor detoxification. And if you're not exercising and moving, poor lymphatic movement. So all of this causes sort of a backing up of things in the body. And I know I'm being very general, but also when you put body fat on, a lot of times the body will store these compounds in body fat, or in the case of certain heavy metals in the nervous system. So it's really important to be moving, sweating, exercising, and then supporting liver detoxification, kidney detoxification, gut health, to make sure the gut has a lot of nutrients and you're not irritating it like you would your family. Don't irritate your gut like your family. Yeah. That's
so if I understood you correctly, you said the xenoestrogens actually react in a stronger way than the normal estrogens in our body do. Is that what I heard?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't dived into estrogen chemistry lately, but from what I recall, the problem with xenoestrogens is they are extremely powerful. Part of the problem, okay. And they're carcinogenic as well, or can be.
Right, can be. But yet, in a natural, healthy male body, there is estrogen, correct?
Correct. And the more, yeah. The technical definition is there are xenohormones that imitate estrogen. That's what a xenoestrogen is. And there are either synthetic or natural compounds, right? So you do get xenoestrogens in naturally in meat, dairy, and eggs. And so agricultural chemical residues are one of the biggest sources. So again, that's why it's important to limit these and make sure that you're not exposing yourself to too much. And as well, as a man, the less estrogen and the more balanced you are in terms of your estrogen levels, the better. And one of the best ways you can do that is to make sure your body composition isn't too far out of range, because the more the more fat you have, the more estrogen you're producing. In fact, there's a thing, have you noticed if you drink a lot of beer as you get older, what happens? I'm going to ask Bruce this question, because we're probably both familiar with it.
I'm actually not a beer drinker.
Yeah. So, yeah, what happens is that you start to get what's called a beer belly. And actually, I would say that a lot of that is an estrogen belly, because your testosterone level is starting to drop as your estrogen levels increase, and body fat produces more estrogen than somebody with less body fat. So when I started realizing that, I was like, oh my God, I got to start getting rid of this, because as you get older, it's much easier to get a beer gut and man boobies, as I call them.
Man boobies.
Okay, so we have these estrogen in us, the xenoestrogen in us. How do we get them out besides exercise? I mean, exercise, you've already said that, lose the weight, lose the gut, get out, exercise, sweat, that kind of thing. How do we get them out of the liver? How do we clear out that area?
That's a good question. Well, number one is to make sure you're not, you have a healthy gut, because you want the liver to be efficient and effective. And so making sure that you're not eating foods that are causing inflammation in the gut and what we call leaky gut is number one. So going on a figuring out what your food sensitivities and food allergies are is probably a good step. Generally, people, it would be safe to say cutting out gluten and maybe eggs and some kinds of dairy are good. And then some people might have to go the extra route of reducing nightshade vegetables like tomatoes, potatoes, green peppers. I know I'm getting a bit extreme. And then the second thing would be supporting liver function itself with nutrients. And there is a whole range of nutrients. You can go from simple B vitamins and amino acids like glycine all the way up to botanicals like dandelion, artichoke, milk thistle, curcumin. And I think a practitioner or a formula to support liver detoxification is really important if you're going to go on a weight loss program. In fact, an interesting fact is that a lot of people don't realize their livers have to do a lot of extra work when you're burning body fat. Because what are you bringing out with the body fat? You're bringing out toxins. And you're bringing out these compounds that need to be detoxified through what are called detoxification pathways. There's two, a phase 1 and a phase 2. And the end products are actually excreted either through your bile or through the urine, through your kidneys. And then there's some amount that you exhale as well, but mostly through the bile and the kidneys. And then the bile exits out through the stool. So these are the elimination pathways. The phase 3 is the gut. So again, we need everything working because, in our society, we don't make a differentiation, I think, being fit and being healthy. You can be fit and not healthy, and you can be healthy and not fit. So there's two different, and, I didn't make up this distinction. These are people a lot smarter than me over the years who've made this distinction of, are you healthy and are you fit? And health is a moving yardstick, right? It's not about the absence of disease. It's about, how functional are you? And that goes with the same with exercise. It's not about maximum muscle size or how much you can lift. It's about how functional are you? Can you do things that work for you in life and give you mobility and freedom and happiness and joy, right? Or are you constrained? I think that's the real meaning of health and the real meaning of fitness.
Absolutely. I'm just going to jump in here. And that was incredible information, both of you gentlemen. Just to remind our listeners, by the way, there's lots of comments going on. Please keep your comments coming. The best way, however, to get your questions answered is to email us at wisdom@walkwithwisdom.ca. The email is wisdom@walkwithwisdom.ca. It's on the screen. Thank you so much. And when you were coming back today, Andrew, based on some of the comments and questions that Bruce and I received, people they hear hormone, testosterone, estrogen, all these different things, and we just really wanted to put it in perspective for men's health. So I think both of you did that really well. And now we're on the liver. Bruce, this is actually, and Andrew, I don't know if you saw some of our earlier shows, but when Bruce joined me, he started with menopause with women, and he started from the gut, of course, colon, go to the bathroom, gut, liver. Good to know that it works pretty much the same way for the men when it comes to elimination organs. What do you think, Bruce? Is that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no. That's one of the functions that both of us, both sexes need to have working properly. If you can't eliminate, your body turns toxic, and a toxic body isn't a healthy body. As Andrew defined health, toxic body is not one of them. So our liver has to be healthy, our gut has to be healthy, our digestion tract. And that means our hormones have to be balanced as well to have our gut working properly and our liver working properly. So yeah, it's all interconnected. So it's very, very important. Quick question. I've IC3, deglucarate, these different things like that. Where do they fit into all of this?
That's a good question. I wanted to give the listeners and viewers, if you're watching us, one more little tidbit before I go into the estrogens is I had a list of xenoestrogens around, and I was fumbling around looking for it if you were watching me mess around with my keyboard. But I did find it, and it's quite telling. And I'd like, sometimes in life it's about what you eliminate as much as what you add back. Going back to our formula, performance equals potential minus interference. And xenoestrogens are a humongous interference to regaining health and being a performing, functional human being. So the list is synthetic industrial chemicals, which are used as lubricants and their byproducts. So obviously plastics with BPA, plasticizers like phthalates, flame retardants. So a lot of clothing have flame retardants. So PBDEs, or polybrominated diphenyl esters. I'm struggling to say that word. Pesticides like DDT, and pharmaceutical agents. So they're called endocrine disruptors for a reason. And so limiting your intake of those, and you can just get on Google and limit your intake, would be really useful. Now, going to the compounds that can modulate estrogen and this is really important for men because helping the healthy detoxification of estrogen can actually do really good things for us guys. There is a detoxification pathway that actually utilizes, it's called the glucaric acid pathway, and it actually helps to detoxify estrogens. And one of the compounds is calcium deglucarate. Which inhibits an enzyme in your gut called beta glucuronidase, and that actually will cause issues with resorbing estrogens and preventing their proper circulation. So I know I'm getting a little technical, but I think it's really important to realize that estrogens they're healthy estrogens, and your body can even produce unhealthy estrogens. So, for example, indole 3-carbinol was a compound which came originally from cruciferous vegetables, and I3C is being used in what we call chemoprevention. So it helps to keep cells healthy when you take it in. A further technology over the years caused the creation I believe it was in the late 90s, early 2000s, a compound called DIM, also found in cruciferous vegetables, called diindolyl methane. And that has a more specific effect of increasing the amount of protective estrogens and reducing the amount of harmful estrogens. So it actually shifts that ratio. Very useful in treating female hormone disorders and in female chemistry, but also important in men too, because when you produce estrogen, if you don't have a healthy gut and a healthy liver, you're going to produce more of the harmful estrogens rather than the protective estrogens. And the other compound that I'm really a fan of for detoxification is probably one of the most potent detoxifiers ever developed by humanity, and that was something called sulforaphane. And sulforaphane you find in the highest amounts in broccoli sprouts. And so if you can do sulforaphane and broccoli sprouts, you are inducing the detoxification in your liver to a very high degree. And if I was going to pick one compound to protect myself from harmful chemicals and even the own things my body produces, I would probably choose sulforaphane.
And is that available in a supplement?
Yes. All four of those are available in one supplement by Cytomatrix called Estromatrix. You can also get them separately. But I find that, especially if you're a guy who's got a belly and body fat and you're planning to lose that, using all four of those in one capsule is very convenient because you can start to drop your estrogen levels in your body with it, as well as helping your liver to detoxify all of the things it's going to need to handle when you start to pull the body fat out of the body fat stores. And, I had this happen to me many, many, many years ago when I loved getting fat and then getting lean. And what I found was my liver wasn't really that happy. I would get a lot of pain and uncomfortableness, fatigue when I was going through these body fat loss programs. And, a lot of people say, oh, they're healing crises, but they're actually not. It's actually a impairment in providing detoxification support for your liver.
Can I feed that back to you quickly? So you said, if I heard correctly, decucarate actually stops an enzyme in your gut to reabsorb the bad hormones. Is that
Correct.
what I heard? Okay.
Yeah, when estrogen binds with, when estrogen is excreted out of the body, you do not want to absorb it back in. So calcium decucarate just inhibits that enzyme that does that.
And DIM takes care, helps protect the healthy hormones.
Correct.
Okay. And then the sulforaphane helps with getting everything out of your body and keeping everything healthy. Is that sort of a too vague?
No, I mean, to get really accurate, beta-glucuronidase is the enzyme that I was saying was harmful to estrogen metabolism. And basically what it does is it takes apart the estrogen from the chaperone that it's trying to, it's like a bouncer escorting an unruly customer out of a nightclub. Basically, beta-glucuronidase just decouples the bouncer and the unruly patron and allows the patron to run back in and do more damage. So,
and that's what the sulforaphane does.
That's what the calcium deglucarate does. Sulforaphane is actually stimulates detoxification in the liver.
Okay.
Excellent.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much. That was really interesting.
Thank you, Bruce, for kicking that back. And that's why I love really having that dynamic of Bruce and I is it's really to come full circle and take something that maybe a lot of our valued listeners and viewers are hearing the first time. They're going, wow, we didn't know. Thank you for the comment. Wow, we didn't know that men had estrogen and that xenoestrogens affected men as well. Bruce takes that complex explanation and make it simple, and not complex as in complicated. By the way, everyone, keep in mind that Andrew is an extraordinary guest with his background as a science trainer, his science background. He's very, very invaluable. And again, thank you, Andrew. And of course, everyone, remember, consult your primary care practitioner, of course, before you start any supplement program, etc. We're talking here about what's available, or you can also email wisdom@walkwithwisdom.ca, wisdom@walkwithwisdom.ca, and Bruce and I are happy to coach you through that journey. Gentlemen, love the fact that what I've learned, like with women, there is a balance. The body operates in homeostasis. It has the balance of everything, including a hormonal balance. So thank you for leading us into that, Andrew. Now, Bruce, did you have a couple more supplements? Because what we want to do is give you something, you or viewers and listeners, something to take away that you can do right now. Did you have a couple more supplements that you had in mind to ask Andrew about?
Absolutely. We were talking last week about testosterone matrix, and I believe that was ashwagandha with fenugreek and a couple of which I'd like you to again review that. But tell us the difference between that and a product with saffron in it, because I understand saffron's good for testosterone as well. What's the difference? When would you use one opposed to the other? The difference?
Well, testosterone matrix was developed to more quickly boost testosterone for men and women who wanted to increase their testosterone more quickly. And the key feature of that product is not only the ashwagandha, but also something called fenugreek. And the fenugreek that we use is a clinically supported fenugreek. And it's called testofen. And testofen actually increases levels of free testosterone, which is the one you want increased, not the bound form. It's more important to have free testosterone increases. And then it actually reduced symptoms of andropause in 20 male subjects between age 40 to 75 over a 12-week period in the dosages which are found in the testosterone matrix at 3 capsules a day. So, what types of results are you talking about? You're talking about increase in lean body mass, decreased fat mass, increased power on exercising, and again, increase free testosterone. And these are all compared to the placebo group that didn't take anything. So that's one big differentiation. The Saffron matrix actually has saffron in it, and saffron actually is a botanical that originally was found exclusively in Iran. And there are other countries in the world where you can get it, but the highest quality, which is called Sargal quality, is found in Iran and grown in Iran. And we start with Sargal quality saffron and then use that in the product. So saffron actually is really interesting because it has so many amazing qualities to it and outcomes. And actually, I was having dinner at a Persian restaurant the other day with friends of mine who were Persian, and they were saying that they put a tremendous amount of saffron in their food. And there were two of them were scientists, and they were describing to me how amazing saffron is. Did you know that 30 milligrams of saffron, which is the amount of saffron extract, the amount you would find in 2 capsules of saffron matrix, is as effective as 20 milligrams of Prozac, which is called fluoxetine?
But I didn't know that first. Did you know that?
I have a Persian friend, and she says they call it the happy food because
yes.
It makes them all feel better.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So in terms of
my brother, what do you guys call it? But that's awesome. I just wanted to interject here a little bit just for viewers and listeners. A lot of what we do, of course, with nutraceuticals, it has the studies. You hear Andrew talking about the studies. Nutraceuticals are studied and researched, vitamins and minerals, and it's our food source. So I love it, Andrew, that you tied in to culturally. I'm from Caribbean heritage. We bathe in saffron. So lots and lots of different cultures. Now in our culture here in North America, we study it, we put it in a pill, and we get happy. Please continue.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, some of the really interesting things about saffron is, so for example, it works for anxiety and depressive symptoms compared to fluoxetine over 6 weeks. Very similar results using something called the Hamilton depression scores. So both of those decrease over the 6 weeks of administration. So again, 20 milligrams of fluoxetine is equivalent to about 30 milligrams of a specific saffron extract called safranside. But also in healthy people what we have called non-pathological feelings of depression. There was a study done with 56 adults between 18 and 60 years of age, and 30 milligrams a day over 8 weeks actually significantly improved their subjective feelings of mood and positivity. So, the thing is with saffron, you can feel the difference sometimes within 30 minutes of taking the product. And that's because of the chemistry of the compounds are that they're really rapidly absorbed, especially the active ingredients, some of which are carotenoids, which are carotenes, and they're highly bioavailable, which is very unusual. So anyway, I don't want to dive too deeply into it, but basically you're improving serotonin by about 66%. You're protecting neurons against damage. You're relaxing the nervous system. So we're all looking for ways to relax. Sometimes we may be really stressed out. So this brings balance back to the nervous system, decreases anxiety, and actually the microbiome changes when you take saffron. Yeah. It also reduces cortisol and also has an anti-inflammatory effect. So again,
does it raise testosterone? Sorry.
Well,
does it have anything to do with testosterone?
Testosterone modulation. So in other words, it gets lowered if it's too high, and if it's too low, it comes up. That is the function of ashwagandha in the product. So the ashwagandha does the testosterone modulating part, and then the saffron does the mood part. And the other thing it does is vasodilate, so it increases blood flow to the periphery, which is always a good thing. So if you wanted to mimic naturally some of the effects of testosterone replacement, you would definitely want mood changes, you would want circulation changes, you would want testosterone changes, and you would want, therefore, a reduction in body fat an increase in lean muscle mass and the ability to do things and like you were younger, like we remember in our minds, right?
Do we have time for another question there, Jen? Because I have one.
Yes, another question, please, Bruce.
Okay. What I was thinking about was when people run into prostate issues, the doctors tends to fill them with estrogen, lowers their testosterone. But to me, logically, if you think about when we were full of testosterone at the most was, 15 to, say, 28, 30, and we never had prostate problems. Can you elaborate on that? And just like, shouldn't we want more testosterone as we get older?
Yeah, you know, I think it's a matter of looking at where you are. Again, and that's why it's always good to go see a practitioner and see, well, where is my testosterone? And I think the first step would be to get moving and lift. And I'm because a lot of times if you're young enough or healthy enough, and I'm talking young as in, in your 50s and 60s, sometimes that's enough. Now, if that's not enough, then you would look at supplementing testosterone, but with bioidentical testosterone, which is probably the safest way. But also as we age, men they aromatize the testosterone and they create a testosterone analog, which actually causes them to lose hair and also enlarge the prostate. So, that's, you may have less testosterone as you get older, but you also aromatize it. And so these side effects happen. So, things like, it's like you get hair, you lose hair where you don't want to lose hair, and you get hair where you don't want it, like in your ears. And so if you look at, you're like, I remember my grandpa when I was young and him having like, a tons of like this ear hair sprouting out of his ears.
Yes, what is that?
Right?
Is that testosterone not being broken down or aromatized as well as it should be as we get older? Is that here?
Well, it's just, there's many things that contribute to that, but generally, you're going to produce more nose hair, more ear hair, and you're going to lose the hair if that's your genetic predisposition. Your hair will thin out as well. So there's, you lose it in the front or you lose it in the back, or if you're really unlucky, you lose it from the front and the back. So again, healthy metabolism. So not only producing enough is an issue, but also metabolizing it properly. And, that's where nutrients like zinc and herbs like saw palmetto and pygeum and these compounds have been shown to improve metabolism, improve the healthy metabolism of testosterone.
Wow. Gentlemen, I have to jump in here because it's incredible how fast time flies. And Andrew, Bruce, I think you're probably in agreement with me because we read each other's minds that we're going to have Andrew back at a later time because there's so much to unpack here. Again, let me just say to listeners and viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. Wisdom at walkwithwisdom.ca. By the way, Andrew, your Cytomatrix products, which are phenomenal, the products that were spoken of today, once you email us, I can send you a link. You can get 15% off. But with that comes a coaching with Bruce and I, or not necessarily together, one or the other. But that way we can set you up because everybody is different. And we do want you to consult your practitioner before starting anything new. Bruce, do you have any just last minute tie-ins for Andrew? Just based on what Andrew said, as we're coming up to the end of the show almost, and I need to talk about testosterone and skin because we got to feel good a little bit.
Absolutely. Thank you, Andrew. As always, you're brilliant. I was going to say, just for people out there who matters, make one more plug for Cytomatrix. It is a Canadian product. It started in Canada. It's in Ontario. So if you want to buy Canadian, Cytomatrix falls under that category. I've used them for years, good products, but I just really want to thank you for your time. It was really, really interesting. I'm glad you could come in and break this down for us because there's a lot of confusion around men and andropause. I want to say I'm going to call it Andropause from now on. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yes. So everyone, I am going to just talk about Another way that we haven't thought of testosterone, and Andrew, you were phenomenal. Thank you so much. We're going to have you back. But testosterone also affects the skin, and it affects the skin as we age. All of our hormones have um, some kind of estrogen, the testosterone play on the skin. Obviously the skin isn't as tight. It loses elasticity, and men get wrinkles too. So, like you were saying, Andrew, as we get older, the one of the tenets of the show is to look good and feel amazing as we age. And it doesn't matter where you live or who you are. We want to look good and feel amazing as we age. I do have a skincare product that everyone who knows me always says, please just give us one thing. And for men, I talked about my husband who's a truck driver, and I think you guys know him. Is he a truck driver? No, he's in construction. Oh, he's going to get me again. He likes this skincare, this cream. Bruce wanted to see, what do these things look like? And you know why this is great for guys? You get up in the morning, you do your exercise, you roll out of the bed, you do your exercise, you eat right, like Andrew mentioned. Please go back to the last show and, of course, this show. You take your supplementation, how it's recommended by your natural health provider, or as Bruce and I, we can help you with that. And then, of course, you put on your skincare. This cream is great for men. Wash your face, spray it with the resveratrol toner. You can put that everywhere: eyes, neck, lips, everywhere. And so it takes like 3 seconds to do in the morning, and you look good and feel amazing as you age. Thank you both so much for joining us today. Um, I love everything. And next week is going to be another show talking about, Andrew mentioned xenoestrogens, of course, which
Mm.
are things that are coming into our bodies from our environment that actually affects us as we age, and not positively in many cases. We're going to talk about things like house cleaning products, etc., how that affects the body and the liver. And Andrew, there is a liver product that I love, love, love that you have. It starts with a T. We have 30 seconds. Can you just tell us quickly? I know it does much more than liver, but can you just tell us quickly about that product?
TUDCA?
Starts with a
Yeah. So is that the one? Tora urso deoxycholic acid? Yeah. So
yeah,
TUDCA
touch.
is a bile salt that is water soluble, and it helps to improve liver health. It improves fat digestion. And earlier, I talked about aromatization, where testosterone gets converted to estrogen, actually. And testosterone converting to DHT also takes place at about 10%. But all of those can be regulated in a healthy way with a healthy liver. And so TUDCA is one of the things that actually helps to maintain liver function. In fact, there's a prescription version of it that's not quite as effective, which is called UDCA, and that's used for like thick bile, gallbladder stasis. So again, something really useful that is available now in Canada, and a lot of doctors previously had to order it from the United States. So hopefully that was longer than 10 seconds.
No, that was good. And for valued US viewers, because we have a lot of US viewers as well, a lot of these products you can get there. If you have any questions, wisdom@walkwithwisdom.ca, wisdom@walkwithwisdom.ca. Thank you all so much for being here, and we'll see you next week.